let's see, Representative Cloud is next. Oh, okay. Mr. Donalds, you're called on next, and you do understand the rule that we have to be wearing masks in committee when we're not speaking, according to the Capitol physician. You're recognized for your 5 minutes of questioning.
I'll save the debate on the rule for another day. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Witnesses, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Representative Thompson, you've been in the Texas legislature for a considerable amount of time, and I thank you for your service. I understand what it is to serve in a state legislature. I served in Florida's for the last 4 years before I came to Congress. You mentioned in your opening statement about how when you were at a polling location, you felt intimidation. I believe it was from a Proud Boy member, whoever it was. Did you file a complaint with the election official, or assuming in Texas the election judge that's in every polling location?
It's nice to meet you. The person came behind me, and I turned and asked what they wanted. And I'm known in my district, and I'm known in that particular precinct. And I didn't have, after just speaking with that person for a little bit, I didn't have no trouble out of her. But most people would not have stood their ground.
But my point is, I'm sorry, we're limited time, so that's why I would love to engage more. But my question is, understanding, your role as an elected leader in Texas, knowing the situation you encountered as an election leader, did you take it upon yourself to file a complaint with the election judge?
I did not. And that person, I think, shortly left after we finished talking.
Okay. My secondary question is there anything in this law, in the Texas law, which I have in front of me, I've been reading it during this committee hearing, is there anything in this law that would stop anybody from being able to file a complaint if they felt some form of intimidation from a poll watcher, excuse me?
Congressman, you're black like me. How many black people you know is going to be intimidated and go and file against some white person in the South?
I'm just talking about you. I'm not going to be intimidated either.
So I'm asking a question. About you too.
No, what I'm saying is,
I'm responding to your questions.
Is there anything in the law that prohibits somebody from filing a complaint? We're talking about the law now. That's what we're talking about.
It's nothing prohibit them from it, but the mere fact of somebody of another ethnicity looking like the Proud Boys in their particular precinct is intimidating enough. Who's going to think about filing a complaint? Some people may, but most people my age are not going to be doing that. They're going to be intimidated, and they're going to tell their friends, and their friends are not going to want to go back. And that intimidation, by any means that you want to announce, is still intimidation, and that is a suppression of the vote.
I would like to add, for one point before we move on, is that it's not just a member of the Proud Boys or anybody else who might be a poll watcher. And by the way, I don't even know those people.
Well, most of them who have come to my area are white.
This is my time, so let me explain what I'm making my point. What I'm saying is there is nothing in this law that prevents any voter in the state of Texas from filing a complaint which would actually take away or diminish their voting rights. That's the fact of the law, because I'm sitting here reading it, and even in your answer, you didn't tell me that it's actually not clear in this bill that people are allowed to actually file complaints. But I got to move on because we're almost out of time. Representative Collier, I was listening to your comments going about the absentee ballot situation where people have to put in either the last four of their driver's license, last four of their social security number, or some form of identification, or actually attesting to an oath that they don't have that available to them. Your statement said that basically their ballot would be kicked if the number they put on the ballot did not match what's actually at the supervisor of elections. But in reading the bill, that is not clear. So can you further expound? Is this actually in the law that would allow a ballot to be kicked out of the process? Or to be clear, is this a technical change that you or any one of your colleagues could file an amendment to make that technical change?
I'm sorry, what section do you say it's not there?
This is, hold on, I've been thumbing through so many sections of this bill. Give me one moment. Oh, Mr. Chair, this is not fair. I'm having to dig through a bill during my time. We got dead air.
We'll be kind to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Assistance of voter.
I think it's on page 12.
Page 12? All right, hold on, let's go. No, that's poll watchers. No, it's not that way. No, it's not that way. It's this way. I should have dog-eared this thing. My apologies, Mr. Chairman. Okay, page 17, this is Article 5, Section 5.02, starting with Section A, subsection 1, line 26, starting on page 16. From my page is what I'm reading on.
Are you on House Bill 3 or Senate Bill?
I'm on House Bill number 3, ma'am.
Okay.
And so reading this bill, I'm looking at this, and there's nothing in this language that would kick your ballot out. So please explain, your rationale to the committee on this.
Okay. It says an early voting ballot on page 16 must include, and it has these requirements on page 17. If it does not include, then it has not met the standard and the requirements under the law.
But for clarification purposes, what's in here is that you either have to have the last 4 of your driver's license, the last 4 of your social security number, or you can actually make a statement that you've not been issued a number of anything in the first 2 sections. And if you do one of those three, your ballot is actually allowed to count under HB 3.
Absolutely. So the concern, and we're not even raising the issue of voter ID, strict voter ID in Texas, because that has already been determined by the court. That has been resolved. The concern with this one is if I registered to vote 20 years ago, I was required to put down one of those identifications. I either put down my social security number or my driver's license number. All right, on this particular measure, it's saying that the person must put down the number that corresponds with the one that's on file with the election administration. Say,
Representative Collier, the only reason why I'm sorry to cut you off, because this is actually important information, but I know I'm out of time, I'm over time.
No, but this is an important discussion. So you're saying that if you put down your social security number, but you forgot you did it 15 or 20 years ago, and you put your driver's license number down, they will throw out your ballot without even telling you that you chose the wrong number? Is that right?
That is what this bill does, because it's not clear that there's any cure opportunity. There's a cure opportunity for other provisions in the bill, but not for this particular provision. There's no way to cure if I put down, even though I put down the correct number, my driver's license number is correct, my social security number is correct, or whatever one, if it's not the same exact number that's on file, my ballot does not meet the standards and the requirements under this bill.
Mr. Chairman.
My ballot.
But I'm sorry, but the time is Mr. Donalds, and I'm going to be generous, so take another moment if you would.
I'm gonna close real quick. Okay. The only thing I would say, Representative Collier, with all due respect, is I'm sitting up here, I'm reading your bill. I've read election bills in Florida where we made election changes, not the one the legislature did since I've been in Congress, but we did 2 other election changes. I've read those bills. I'm reading the statutory language here, and what's here in the language doesn't comport with what you're saying. My only advice would be, if you have a technical issue, then the job of you and your colleagues is in the Texas legislature, not here, to make sure that those technical changes can be made or work with the majority party. And the last thing I would say is that I think that in the Texas legislature, like in most state legislatures, you guys have far more latitude to bring technical changes and amendments. I know up here in D.C., being in the minority party, we hardly have any ability to bring amendments on anything. With that, I yield back.
Sir, if it was only a technical amendment, this is a practical implication that's going to disenfranchise hundreds and thousands of votes of Texans. And so that's why we're here. We tried to work with our counterparts, but every amendment that we presented was declined.
Where was that, in committee?
Yes, sir, in committee. On the 23 hours, there were amendments that were presented. Even during the regular session, when we presented amendments, they were not always admitted. So we have tried, we've used every tool in our toolbox to collaborate with our colleagues. The only thing left is to come to Congress and ask for federal intervention.
Thank you very much, Representative Collier. And I've got to